Unveiling Semjaza, the shocking truth about fallen angels. The Book of Enoch revealed. At 3 a.m. clock struck 3. Shadows danced on the walls, stretching and writhing like whispering ghosts. Candlelight flickered wildly in the darkness, casting eerie shapes that played tricks on the mind. This was the witching hour, the moment when the veil between reality and the unknown thins, and the bizarre secrets of the universe come tumbling out. Tonight, in a cramped attic filled with dust and ancient books, the shocking truth about fallen angels was about to be revealed, forever changing the fate of those who dared to listen. The Book of Enoch lay open on the rickety table, its pages yellowed and worn, breathing a story long forgotten. Strange symbols and cryptic images leapt out, telling tales of beings from the heavens. Semjaza, the leader of the rebellious Watchers, who descended upon the earth. They came to impart forbidden knowledge, but instead unleashed chaos. Its words held power, pulsing with a dark energy that sent shivers down the spine. Was Semjaza a hero or a villain? The answer lay in the whispers of the night. Outside, the wind howled like a tortured soul, drowning out the sound of distant sirens. Disturbing visions floated in the air, images of massive wings sweeping across the moonlit sky, making the hair on the back of your neck stand up. The attic felt damp, a chill creeping into the bones, making every breath feel heavy. There was a sense of urgency, a pressure like a storm brewing just beyond reach. Questions swirled in the air. Who was Semjaza really? What had he done that demanded such fear? As the clock ticked closer to 3:30, a deafening silence enveloped the room, followed by a soft rustle. A chill pierced the air. Was that just the old house settling, or something more? A pulse of adrenaline shot through the chest. Eyes darted to the window, where a flicker of light caught the gaze. Was that a shadow lurking in the fog? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The candle flickered again, and then heart-pounding there it was. A figure, ethereal and haunting, floating just outside. The air turned electric, each breath heavier, as if the house itself held its breath. Was this the manifestation of Semjaza? Fear gripped the inside, tightening like a vice. What did this figure want? Was it a warning, a plea, or something worse? Suddenly, the figure vanished. But the tension hung, thick and tangible. Each beat of the heart echoed in the silence, a reminder that nothing was truly as it seemed. The mystery deepened, pulling tighter, reeling in with invisible strings. Who dared to discover the truth? What would happen when the shadows took shape? And then, a single question hung in the air, the last flicker of hope in the dark. Was anyone brave enough to face the darkness that lay ahead? As the breathless tension filled the attic, the figure outside reemerged. A nearly translucent silhouette, shimmering at the edges, beckoned from beyond the fog. With an unsettling grace, it moved closer to the window, its features sharpening just enough to reveal hollow eyes that seemed to see straight through the mundane world. The weight of its presence pressed down like lead, dragging the heart into a chasm of fear. What did it want? The very air hummed with anticipation, and somewhere deep inside, dread festered. The room felt alive, pulsing with the energy of forgotten sorrow. Was it the spirit of Semjaza himself, or something far more sinister? Time stood still as thoughts twisted into a knot, whispering warnings of a truth that should not be known. The candle sputtered, casting long, menacing shadows that flickered against the wall as the figure floated closer still. Its hands were outstretched, beckoning silently, as if urging for the forbidden book to be turned, for secrets buried deep to be unleashed. The Book of Enoch sat there with pages filled with ancient prophecies and lost knowledge, its very essence calling out to be unlocked. Speak! A harsh whisper broke the silence, a desperate plea erupting from trembling lips. The faintest flicker of movement caught the candlelight as the figure opened its mouth, soundless words falling like grains of sand through an hourglass. An instinctive chill flooded the room. Wind rushed past as the figure dissolved into a cloud of shadows, swirling around the attic like a long-held breath finally exhaled. The candles flicked violently as if thrashing against an unseen storm. Enormous dread gripped the heart, now racing like a wild horse. Shadows coalesced into shapes that recalled the Watcher's legends, ancient guardians, anarchic beings, their wings extending endlessly. Each one seemed to pulse with life raw, unearthly, potent. With a sharp gust, the window flung open. Cold air rushed inside, laced with whispers of long-lost echoes. The cold struck at the spine, each breath turning to mist in the frigid twilight. An overwhelming sense of urgency cracked through the fear. Was this a moment of revelation or doom? Drawn by an invisible force, fingertips brushed against the Book of Enoch. Suddenly, the air crackled, the atmosphere electrified. Words began to swirl from the pages, rising like vapor towards the ceiling, shimmering in a ghostly dance. Astonished, eyes widened in disbelief at the sights taking form, the Watchers descending, clutching knowledge and pain, struggling between the realms of heaven and hell, each bearing the weight of their choices. Then, just as suddenly, a voice rang clear, possessing clarity beyond human comprehension. Your fate unfolds with each choice you make. But know this, the truth will rip apart what you've held sacred. The declaration echoed, a bell tolling in the quiet desperation. The sense of inevitability crept in. As the words wove through thoughts, the lines separating fear from curiosity blurred. What sacrifices had they made for knowledge, and what burdens would follow? Not far from where the shadows danced, a flicker caught the eye, a rustling in the corner. The heart lodged in the throat. The window slammed shut, locking away not just light, but freedom. And suddenly, just as the silence threatened to deepen into chaos, a single breath erupted from the shadows, whispering a name, Semjaza. Could innocence survive the onslaught of dark revelations? Would anyone dare to follow where the knowledge led, knowing the cost? The very thought cast a tremor through the soul, leaving nothing but questions hanging in the suffocating air. What would happen if, in the pursuit of truth, they awoke forces meant to remain dormant? The room teetered on the brink between darkness and light as the air thickened, pulsating with electric tension. Sarah's breath trembled. The heavy silence felt suffocating, as if the shadows themselves were about to suffocate her. Semjaza, she whispered back, her voice fragile and trembling. It was a name that echoed in the dark corners of her mind, awakening distant memories she had tried to bury. She could feel a pull, a magnetic force urging her closer to the book, the words swimming in her thoughts like fish darting through murky water. Moments blurred as every instinct told her to retreat, yet she felt woven into the fabric of this haunted moment. Flickering candlelight revealed vast textures of regret and fear in the shadows. The book, no longer simply a tome of forbidden knowledge, seemed alive. A deep heartbeat resonated, syncing with her own. That when the shadows began to shift again, merging and receding, absorbing the room's light like a ravenous beast. They swirled, forming wisps that elongate and embrace, then dissipate in feathery wisps. Each dark tendril caressed her skin, sending icy shivers racing down her spine. A voice, rich and sorrowful, cut through the silence like a razor. To know is to wield power, Sarah, it whispered, the timbre resonating in every corner of her being. Her heart quickened, thudding like a war drum. What did it mean to wield power? Was it strength, or was it a curse? As if answering her thoughts, a figure solidified in the encroaching shadow. A man, or was he more? Standing with an ethereal grace, his eyes glimmered like stars, like a fallen angel caught between realms. You must choose. His voice echoed, soft yet brutal, teetering on the edge of promise and threat. To seek the truth, he continued, is to awaken the Watchers. They are here, and they are restless. The form flickered, forcing Sarah to gasp. Fear twisted in her stomach like a knife, yet she felt an undeniable compulsion bubble beneath her skin. She couldn't look away. What will they do? She finally gasped, voice barely above a whisper. They will awaken. The balance must shift. His lips curled in a ghost of a smile, simultaneously alluring and terrifying. The shadows shifted with a fateful sigh, as if they breathed. Desperation clawed at her throat. What balance? Before he could respond, the attic trembled, quaking as if an earthquake rumbled from deep beneath. The shelves rattled, dust falling like rain, coating everything in a thick layer of sinister anticipation. No, she shouted, lurching back. She couldn't allow the chaos to envelop her. Not yet. Strength surged within her, a determination born of panic. She reached for the Book of Enoch, a glimmer amidst the gathering storm. The moment her fingers brushed against the spine, the world exploded. The shadow surged, enveloping her in a smothering embrace. And into the depths, she sank, the weight of darkness pulling her down into nothingness. A scream echoed. Was it hers? Or was it the harrowing cries of the watchers they had summoned? Fingers trembling, she fought for clarity while fragments of memories tore at the seams of her mind. Shadows flicked like lightning above her, and the chanting grew louder. The lines between reality and nightmare blurred until everything shattered. And just as everything condensed into a deafening silence, the figure reemerged, now fierce as a storm. Will you heed the call, Sarah? What are you willing to sacrifice? A deep pit of uncertainty opened in her chest. In that moment, she grasped the dreadful truth: the chase for knowledge often leads to unforeseen horrors. The question hung thick in the air. What was she willing to lose? As the darkness beckoned with arms wide open, the true depth of her desires crossed the threshold, leaving her breathless. The only thing left was choice, and the abyss waiting at the tip of her fingers. In that fractured moment, one burning thought sparked: did she still hold the power to change the course, or had she already signed her fate? The answer was just beyond reach, hidden in the depths, cloaked in shadows that begged to be unveiled. Would she dare to take another step forward? The darkness closed in, wrapping around Sarah like a shroud. The shadows twisted, coiling tighter, smothering the flickering candlelight that had momentarily illuminated her fear. She felt as if she had been thrust into a void, a bottomless pit pulling her further from the world she knew. Panic rose like bile in her throat, but beneath it simmered an unsettling curiosity that clawed for release. Awaken, the voices whispered, now a chorus that echoed in her mind, reverberating like a dirge. They were not just murmurs. They were a promise, a beckoning from the other side, a world where the secret of Semjaza lay hidden. With a surge of desperation, she focused on the shimmering figure before her. His eyes, celestial and fierce, bore into her soul. What have you awakened, child? He asked, voice low and full of urgency. What will you confront? I don't know, she shouted, her breath coming in rapid bursts. I only want to understand. The shadows recoiled for an instant, as if her words had struck a chord. The air between them thickened, crackling with energy, and she felt her will strengthen. The figure's smile faded, his face hardening, measuring her resolve against the darkness that lay ahead. Knowledge bears a heavy weight, Sarah. Are you ready to carry it? His expression shifted, and, in the haze of shadows, she saw flickers of images, faces twisted in agony, eyes wide in terror, countless souls trapped in the limbo of unearthly dread. I can handle it, she declared, though doubt echoed through her mind. Was that true? Did she even understand what she was promising? The weight of the book pulsed against her fingers, each heartbeat pressing her closer to a precipice she didn't know how to navigate. In that moment, everything shifted. The walls of the attic faded, and she was thrust into a river of visions. Rolling waves of ancient knowledge crashed against her consciousness, ceremonies shrouded in blood, whispers of forbidden alliances, the desperate pleas of those who had sought and failed to conquer the shadows. Each scene tore through her mind, cleaning layers of her own protective ignorance. Stop it, she screamed, clenching her teeth and shutting her eyes tight. But them, as if on cue, the shadows surged with renewed vigor, swirling violently. What do you want from me? Blood and truth, echoed the voice, a low rumble that shook her core. You must sacrifice for clarity. The shadows slithered closer, each tendril pressing against her skin, begging for a response, a choice. The boundaries of her own sacrifice hovered tauntingly in the air, mingling with the scent of ancient dust and the chill of inevitability. The pressure built, thickening as though the shadows themselves had weight. There was a promise behind the menace, an invitation to join a hidden dance of fallen angels, lost souls, and wielders of forbidden truth. Choose now. The figure boomed, his presence intensifying with every syllable, a catalyst of everything she feared and desired. What will you give? Will it be a loved one, your own sanity? Or are you prepared to share in the burden of the truth? In that moment, Sarah felt a sharp pang of reality course through her. The potential consequences of her choice could resonate beyond her solitary fate. Would others pay the price for her quest? Her heart raced, uncertainty clawing at her throat. Did she even have the right to decide? One thought rushed to the forefront of her mind. I won't lose anyone else. She cried out, a raw scream that broke the fabric of the surrounding silence, reverberating through the dark. But even as she said it, deep down, she realized she was already too late, too entangled in the realm of shadows and secrets. Behind the veil, the watchers stirred restlessly, and from the abyss, more figures began to emerge, their intentions unknown and their hunger palpable. Was she truly prepared to confront the legends that kept the darkness alive? As the chaos threatened to engulf her, and the shadows howled, Sarah braced herself. The answer awaited, seeping through every crack in her reality, as the weight of truth lingered like a ghost just out of reach. What choices await her in the darkness? Would her resolve be enough to face the rising tide of shadowed beings embodied in Semjaza's name? A sudden wave of chill washed over Sarah, gripping her spine. The shadows closed in like a vice, their whispers morphing into taunts. Each murmur felt like a scalding mark against her skin. The shimmering figure before her seemed to pulse with intention, his celestial eyes narrowing, relentless in their scrutiny. Your scream holds power, he said, voice resonating with an unearthly depth. But it will not deter the truth. You have announced a challenge to the darkness, and now it will answer. As the shadows writhed, fragments of the attic began to dissolve. The old wooden beams twisted into grotesque shapes, melting into an endless void. Sarah's heart raced in sync with the pounding chaos around her. She was teetering at the edge of a revelation that electrified her with both dread and exhilaration. That a cacophony erupted. Echoes of laughter and cries battled for dominance, a symphony of lost souls clamoring to be heard. She felt the pull of their emotions. Fear tightened around her chest, fury crackled through the air, and somewhere, beneath layers of despair, she caught a glimmer of hope. Confront it, Sarah, shouted the figure, stepping forward, his presence shifting the shadows momentarily. Face your truth. Only then will you find what you seek. How? I don't even know what that means, she cried, terror piercing her thoughts. Her instincts screamed to run, but a deeper yearning rooted her feet to the cold floor. Was she ready to face whatever darkness lay at the heart of her own question? You will find your answer in the depths, he instructed, gesturing towards a swirling mass of shadows. But beware, it will require more than you are willing to pay. An overwhelming sensation slammed into her, pulling her closer to the abyss. The figures within the darkness morphed, becoming distorted versions of people she knew, friends, family, even strangers, their faces marred with suffering. Were these the faces of sacrifice? The weight of their pain flooded her senses, making her knees tremble. Stop, please, she shouted, but the shadows only surged forward, thirsting for her despair. There was no escaping them. They clawed and prodded, weaving through her thoughts like flames in dry grass. Your heart carries the burden of their secrets, the figure replied, his voice surrounding her like a shroud. They too have sacrificed. The truth knits us all together. With trembling hands, Sarah clutched the book tighter. She could not back down now, not when she had come this far. The faces in the shadows twisted in anguish, as if pleading for her attention. She felt their desperation, their yearning for release. Then let them be my guides, she whispered, her voice steadying. I will not flee. I will face this. At her declaration, the shadows recoiled, swirling into a tempest. The air shimmered, slashing through the tension like a blade. The figure nodded approvingly, and in that moment, a vibrant light began to break through, illuminating the darkness with an intense brilliance. Prepare yourself, he urged. What follows will not be easy, but you have started the journey, and you are not alone. The truth will be revealed, but know this. Once uncovered, there is no going back. The light grew blinding, until Sarah was swallowed by it. She felt herself pulled apart, scattered like shards of glass caught in a maelstrom. In that moment, she grasped the enormity of her commitment. Could she withstand the revelations that lay in the shadows, those truths cold and unyielding? But she had no time to ponder. Within the radiance, she began to hear voices, strong and resolute, each chanting a name, Semjaza. Shadows flickered like candle flames, guiding her deeper into the heart of despair. As she turned, she saw it a doorway forming from the light, churning with potential. Behind it, a world of darkness and intrigue awaited. Would it be salvation or further damnation? The answer lay beyond, but would she be brave enough to step through? The choice was hers, and the truth? It hung just out of reach, waiting to be seized. As Sarah stepped through the doorway, the blinding light enveloped her, then shattered like glass, sending ripples of pure energy coursing through her. She landed on solid ground, gasping as she tried to catch her breath. The air here was thick, heavy with secrets and silence that pressed against her like an invisible weight. Around her, the landscape shifted and pulsed, colors merging into shades of deep gray and vibrant violet. She stood in an infinite corridor, lined with doors that seemed to breathe, each one whispering softly, as if withholding knowledge. The figure, his presence still warm in her memory, had promised guidance, yet now the uncertainty clawed at her thoughts. She was alone. Sarah, a voice echoed from somewhere far away, pulling at her heartstrings. She recognized it, a voice both haunting and familiar. Was it her mother? The longing surged within her. "Mom," she called, and the corridor quaked in response. The doors flexed, and one began to glow, illuminating the darkness with pulses of golden light. As she approached, the whispers grew louder, rekindling fragments from her past, the joys, the fears, the unresolved questions. Memories tumbled forth, painting vibrant images in her mind. She could practically see her mother's face smiling back at her, yet there was something else, a shadow lurking just at the edges of the memory. "Face it, Sarah," the voice urged again, but it wasn't he just beckoning her to confront the truth, it was demanding it. She swallowed hard, a lump forming in her throat, while the door glowed brighter, its light spilling into the corridor like honey. The moment felt overwhelming, like holding too much water in a glass. "I can't," she shouted, desperation building. "What if I uncover a pain too deep to bear?" The corridor vibrated with intensity, the doors shaking as though they felt her fear. She took a step back, but then noticed that one of the doors to her right began to creak open. A gust of cold air rushed past her, full of echoes and lost voices. "Don't ignore it." The figure's words reverberated in her mind. They held weight, like an anchor in this shifting world. "This is your path." With trembling fingers, Sarah reached for the door handle, feeling its icy metal against her skin. In that moment, doubt flickered as she imagined every painful truth hidden behind it. Consequences loomed large, and yet, in her heart, the pull of discovery was stronger. Throwing caution to the wind, she twisted the handle and pushed the door open with a shaky breath. A dark emptiness greeted her, a gaping maw that seemed to consume all light. Shadows spilled from the threshold like spilled ink, swirling around her legs and beckoning her inside. The moment she stepped through, she found herself standing in a vast, cavernous space, where the shadows writhed and shifted like smoke. Questions ricocheted in her mind. Beyond each corner, what awaited her? Painful truths could slice deeper than knives. The figure from before stepped forward, emerging from the darkness. His ethereal glow cast flickering shadows against the walls. "You have awakened the echoes of Semjaza. They will guide you, but tread carefully." "What do you mean?" Sarah demanded, worry spilling from her. "What is Semjaza? Why does it feel familiar?" The figure's gaze turned serious, as if he struggled to convey the truth without unleashing the full weight of its burden. "He is the gatekeeper of forsaken decisions, lost promises, and the stories of love buried beneath sin. You cannot move forward without confronting him." A sudden crack sounded, echoing through the space. The shadows twisted violently around her, swirling in a chaotic dance, pressing closer, eager to reveal their secrets. "No," she screamed, fear cracking her voice as the shadows whispered her name in mocking unison. The laughter, cold and cerulean, echoed all around her, their malicious joy mingling with her own despair. Sarah realized, in that heartbeat of clarity, she was connected to all this. These weren't just shadows, they were remnants of choice. Caught between light and dark, she knew. She would have to dig deeper to unveil what had truly plagued her existence. But would she find the truth comforting or shattering? The pulse of Semjaza grew stronger, echoing in her veins. Shadows circled, thick and suffocating, as she steeled herself, preparing to face the wrath and revelations of a world she'd only begun to understand. Doubt clawed within her. Was she ready for what came next, or would the truth swallow her whole? The answers awaited beyond the threshold of the unknown, lurking just out of reach. She took a deep breath, feeling the strange, cold air wrap around her lungs. The darkness twisted and churned, a living entity hungry for her secrets. Each whisper melded into the other, forming a cacophony. And then, amidst the noise, she heard it, a single, clear sentence slicing through the chaos. Find Semjaza and claim your truth. The figure's voice reverberated in her mind like the tolling of a distant bell, urging her to move. But to where? The shadows curled and slithered, and just as fear threatened to drown her, a flicker of determination ignited. She had to confront this twisted past and whatever truth it held. Semjaza, she called out, her voice crackling with defiance. Show yourself. For a heartbeat, the shadows recoiled. Then silence enveloped her, thick and yawning. The stillness suffocated her. She could feel her heart racing, pounding against her chest like a caged animal desperate for escape. Suddenly, from the depths of the darkness, a figure began to materialize, tall and imposing, with wings that shimmered like black glass. Sarah's breath hitched. This was him. Semjaza. The tales whispered about him, the fallen angel and keeper of darkness embodied in flesh. Why have you awakened me? His voice was a rumble that resonated through the cavern, deep and unsettling. It echoed, clashing with her every doubt, every fear that clawed at her spirit. I need to know the truth, she declared, stepping forward despite the shadowy tendrils that grasped at her ankles. What is hidden here? What did my past do to deserve this despair? Semjaza's eyes glimmered with ancient wisdom, a storm brewing behind them. Truth is a double-edged sword. He smiled, but there was a coldness in it that sent shivers down her spine. You seek answers, but can you bear the consequences? Let me decide. The words burst forth from her, the anger fueled by years of uncertainty and pain. Very well, he said, the shadows swirling thicker around them. Face your own choices. The echoes will reveal all. With a wave of his hand, the shadows began to shift, forming images, moments from her life that lay buried deep within her mind. Events she had forgotten or dismissed. A heated argument with her father, her mother's tear-streaked face. Each memory played out like a movie, the anguish palpable, the guilt suffocating. Sarah felt her breath quicken. No, I don't want to see this. Face it, Semjaza commanded. You are tangled in the web of your past. Only by embracing it can you break free. A gut-wrenching realization washed over her. These weren't just memories, they were the roots of her current anguish. Choices unmade and paths unexplored. As the emotions surged, she saw a shadowed figure, her father, standing in the doorway of a darkened room. You left me, echoed in haunting tones. No, that is not true, she cried out. But the shadows continued to swirl, engulfing her in a tempest of feelings. The laughter morphed into sobs that filled the cavern, and her knees weakened beneath the weight of a long-buried guilt she thought she had closed the door on. Embrace it, Sarah? Semjaza's thunderous voice rang out above the din. You need to accept the sins of your past to step into the light. What if it destroys me? She questioned, trembling, fear coiling around her heart like a vice. Or it may set you free. The shadows around her grew denser, the echoes transforming into screams of regret and sorrow, tightening like a noose. Panic ignited within her, fighting against the temptation to flee. But then, just as she thought she would be engulfed, she felt warmth, a flicker of hope rising from deep within her. Could she find strength in the truth, however painful? In that moment of clarity, the darkness started to shift. What lay ahead was uncertain, but she felt a spark of determination blazing within her. What unearthly power would reveal itself, and would it be enough to withstand the oncoming storm? Sarah clenched her fists, stepping forward into the whirlpool of shadows, ready to unlock the truths that Semjaza guarded. But was her spirit prepared to handle the revelations that awaited her? With the abyss opening wide, she braced for the impact of the hidden truths. Would the echoes lead her to salvation or send her spiraling into deeper darkness? The shadows spiraled and narrowed, contracting around Sarah like a vice, twisting her world into a funnel of despair and regret. All around her, colors morphed into a haze of gloom, intertwining with the images Semjaza had unleashed. She steadied herself, fighting the urge to retreat, forcing her wobbly legs to hold their ground against the suffocating pull of her past. Face it, Semjaza's voice thundered again, cutting through her fear like a blade. Feel everything, let it wash over you. As a wave of memories surged, Sarah was thrust into a childhood home filled with echoes of laughter and warmth. But beneath it all lay the ghost of something darker, of anger and betrayal. A vision of her mother sitting alone in the dark, silent tears staining her cheeks, fell over Sarah like a shadow. You abandoned us, Sarah? It was her mother's voice, distorted and empty, yet saturated with pain. No, she shouted, a deep ache swelling in her chest. I didn't mean to, but her mother's spirit clawed through the haze, anger cascading like a waterfall over the memories, dragging Sarah into depths she had tried to escape. The memories morphed again, shifting like a puppet show caught in a whirlwind. Then came the betrayal, her father's disappointment, a strangled cry in the middle of a stormy confrontation. You don't care about us. You only care about yourself. The words echoed like gunfire, ripping the air between them. No, Sarah cried again, the weight of her guilt unrelenting, making her limbs tremble. Suddenly, Semjaza was beside her, the dark aura of his existence warm yet overwhelming. Your truth is hidden in here, he said, gesturing into the swirling tempest. But remember, acknowledging your past can either bind you further in torment or set you free. How can pain ever set me free? She protested, the confusion and guilt battling within her. This is my punishment. And yet his gaze pierced her. You alone can decide how this ends. In that moment, the shadows shifted, revealing a doorway flickering on the edge of her vision. It beckoned her, illuminated in a ghostly light. In stark contrast to the darkness, this door was painted in 1,000 shades of hope. What's beyond that door, Semjaza? Answers, he said. The truth you so desperately seek. But it will come with a price. Her heart raced at the prospect, the lure of understanding pulling her closer. She reached toward it, but hesitated when her mother's face reappeared in the shadows again. How can I walk that path if I have hurt those I love? Only you can bridge that gap, Sarah. Face the hurt you are responsible for, and allow forgiveness to guide you. The shadows twirled angrily, swirling about her, threatening to close in again. Sarah felt the weight of her choices crush down. The doorway flickered, revealing fleeting glimpses of light and comfort, the faces of those she loved most. She could almost feel their warmth, the sense of belonging. I want this truth, she whispered, determination surging in her chest. I want to face my sins, to heal. As her breath steadied, she took a step forward, the whispers of her past screaming in protest. But she was done running. She could almost taste the light that lay beyond the door, the possibility of mending what had been broken. But just before she could grasp the doorknob, Semjaza's voice rose, loud and resonant. Beware, Sarah. The truth may reveal more than you are prepared to accept. The unsettling finality of his words hung in the air, fraught with danger. Did she truly want to know what lay beyond? With an adrenaline rush pushing her forward, she lunged for the door. What awaited her could reshape everything she understood about herself. As her hand wrapped around the cool metal, the shadows howled, shaking the very ground beneath her. Would she emerge whole, or fracture into pieces she could never reclaim? With a breath held tight in her lungs, she twisted the knob. The door swung open, revealing a kaleidoscope of light that burst forth like a golden sunrise breaking the horizon. It was blinding yet inviting, and Sarah felt an overwhelming wave of warmth wash over her. The shadows recoiled, hissing as they clawed at the edges of this radiant space, unable to penetrate the newfound light. Step through, Sarah, Semjaza urged, his voice softening against the backdrop of her tempestuous emotions. but doubt wrapped around her like a shroud. The vibrating energy of the truth that lay just beyond enveloped her. "What will it show me?" she asked, her voice trembling with both fear and excitement. "Semjaza, what you need to see." With a deep breath, Sarah stepped into the light. With each passing moment, the shadows dimmed until they faded into nothing, and she found herself surrounded by vivid images. It was as if she had crossed into a different world filled with vibrant colors and faces she recognized instantly. Her mother, younger and smiling. Her father, full of warmth, and even her childhood friends, filled with innocence. The comforting scene shattered abruptly as she was pulled deeper into a sequence of memories layered on top of each other, like a film strip flickering past. Each frame displayed moments long hidden from her consciousness. She saw visions of her childhood playdates, laughter spilling like music into the air. Yet, before she could relish in joy, the images darkened, the laughter warped into heart-wrenching cries, and the smiles twisted into expressions of betrayal. "Sarah," her mother's voice echoed sharply, cutting through the blissful facade. "You don't get it. You thought walking away would set you free, but it only shackled you to your past." "Stop," Sarah gasped, clutching her head as shadows slithered back, threatening to engulf her again. "Face it," Semjaza commanded, his tone urgent now. "This is the truth you sought. You must confront the harm, the pain you've caused." And there it was, the moment she had buried, the betrayal she had lived with for years. She was a teenager, standing at the threshold of her home while the sound of her parents arguing filled the air behind her. "I can't take this anymore," her younger self had screamed before fleeing onto the streets. The guilt clawed at her heart like an angry beast. "Why did you run?" Semjaza's voice turned grave, challenging her to break through her own defenses. "I thought I was saving myself," she cried. But at what cost? The haunting truth wrestled within her. She could see the wreckage left behind, her mother's loneliness, her father's helplessness, the gradual unraveling of family ties strained to the breaking point. Just when she thought the agony of recognition would crush her entirely, the door behind her pulsed with light, guiding her back. What awaited her through that threshold felt like relief mixed with dread. She understood now the heavy price of understanding what she had done. With trembling hands, Sarah reached back, hesitant to make the leap again. But when she turned her gaze upon Semjaza, he offered a small nod of encouragement. "You can change this. The past does not have to define you." Gathering the strength she didn't know she had, she glanced back into the swirling chaos of her memories. What would she say to her mother? How could she bridge the divide caused by years of silence and sorrow? But as she weighed her thoughts, the echoes grew louder, morphing back into cries, screams, and chaos. The shadows were creeping back, spurred by her uncertainty. Boxed in, panic surged inside her. What if this was merely a trick? What if accepting this truth meant losing everything she hoped to regain? With a power surge pushing her back, Sarah recognized the depth of her choice. Did she dare step through the light and confront the ghosts of her past, or would fear drag her back into the oblivion of shadows? In a moment of sheer defiance, she took a bold step through the shimmering door, ready to rewrite her story. But the shadowy whispers grew increasingly desperate, cascading around her like a funeral dirge, pleading for her to return. "Sarah," they cried, "don't do it." And just as the darkness lunged forward, determined to pull her back, the doorframe flickered anew. Beyond lay not just the truth, but an unforeseen revelation about Semjaza himself, one that could shatter everything she thought she understood about fallen angels, sacrifice, and the very essence of hope. As their worlds collided, she knew the revelation would change everything, and yet, she was unprepared for the true nature of what awaited her. As Sarah stepped through the doorway, the light engulfed her, embracing her like a warm blanket. She blinked against the brilliance, her heart pounding wildly in her chest. And just like that, the chaos of the shadows fell away, revealing a serene space, almost ethereal in its tranquility. The shadows that had once threatened to consume her seemed to linger at the edges, twisting in frustration, unable to breach this bright sanctuary. In this newfound realm, Sarah saw familiar faces, her mother and father, young and vibrant, their smiles radiant. They were surrounded by soft pastel hues, flickering like the laughter surrounding them. Warmth washed over her as memories began to unfold like petals blooming in spring, causing a lump to rise in her throat. A sweet nostalgia enveloped her, but it wasn't long before the shadows whispered reminders of her past, the unresolved pain, the betrayals lurking beneath the surface. Sarah, her mother's voice was gentle, yet powerful, drawing her closer. "Do you finally understand?" Sarah stammered, scrambling to articulate the surge of emotions battling inside her. "I didn't mean to hurt you." But the shadows twirled violently at her feet, urging her to turn away from this moment. Sweat prickled at her skin, anxiety clawing at her mind, yet she held firm to the warmth, to the light that glimmered before her. "Your choices have woven my reality," her mother continued, gaze unwavering. "Every action creates ripples that reach those we love. To know the truth is to embrace the pain." The weight of truth descended, heavy like a lead blanket. For so long, Sarah had run, desperate to escape the very hurt she inflicted. But standing here, facing the embodiment of her regrets, everything morphed into clarity. She needed to forgive herself and those she had wronged. Semjaza's voice resonated from behind her, strong yet understanding. "Remember, Sarah, light and dark exist together. Only through acceptance can you shift the balance within. The shadows will remain, but so will the light, if you choose." With a final breath, Sarah turned her gaze to the lingering shadows. They writhed, but now she felt a newfound courage well inside. "I won't let you define me anymore," she proclaimed, standing firm against the chaos gathering in waves. "I'm not afraid to own my mistakes and seek forgiveness." The swirling darkness hesitated, as if shocked by her resolve. Quiet enveloped the space, the shadows hanging like a morose curtain, waiting for her next move. Breathing deeply, Sarah faced her parents again, their eyes shimmering with an emotional resonance that grounded her. "I'm sorry," she said, her voice breaking, tears filling her eyes. "I should have fought for us. I shouldn't have run away. I wanted to escape the storm, but instead I let it tear us apart. Can you forgive me?" The light flickered with intensity, urging her onward through that painful acceptance. Her mother stepped forward, her expression softening as compassion filled her gaze. "You were lost, my child. We've all made choices in moments of pain. But love is stronger than the darkness." Sarah felt warmth spreading through her chest, igniting a fire that chased away the chill of regret. "Please help me heal," she whispered, voice trembling with vulnerability. "I don't want this burden anymore." As if initiated by her plea, the shadows began to recede, tangled tendrils pulling back away from her warmth. In the soft glow, her parents reached for her, their hands interlocking, and she stepped closer, enveloped in a cocoon of love. Semjaza watched, eyes reflecting the bittersweet essence of the moment, a flicker of understanding in his celestial depths. "You have embraced the truth and summoned your courage. You are not just a product of your past, Sarah. You continue the legacy of creating anew." The glowing realm shimmered brightly, holding them in a tender embrace. Sarah stepped forward, her heart full of hope. "I choose light," she declared, facing the mosaic of swirling memories. "I will face my history, but it will not define me. I will learn and grow." With the last echoes of shadows fading into the light, Semjaza inclined his head, the powerful energy surrounding them dissipating like morning mist under the sun. "You have awakened the true potential within. Carry it forth into the world." In that moment, time felt suspended, the air vibrant with unspoken possibilities. Sarah stepped back, her family beside her, ready to move forward. She lifted her face to the sky, now unburdened and awash with light. Everything had changed, the darkness softened, the weight lifted, revealing the dawning of a new journey. Together, they turned their backs on the shadows, stepping into the warmth of the dawn. And just like that, each step felt significant. She was free, transformed, ready to embrace the light with open arms. As they walked towards a future bright with promise, a new understanding bloomed inside her. The shadows may linger, hidden beneath layers of existence, but she had the power to create her own light, to shine brightly even in the darkest of places. It was time for goodbyes to insecurities, guilt, and the haunting echoes of her past. And the journey began anew. Smash that like button now to keep this amazing community thriving and thriving. And don't forget to share this conclusion with at least 5 friends who you think need to hear this story. You need to subscribe immediately to our channel so you don't miss any more exclusive stories that promise to change lives one revelation at a time. Flood the comments with your thoughts and theories. I want to hear everyone's reactions. This is the moment to show your support for the adventure ahead.